Kick-Up is an organisation that spreads the facts about the racing industry into the outside world. They held a high-stakes workshop here at Royal Randwick in Sydney last week, bringing together key stakeholders from around Australia to find a way forward to ensure the progress of the racing industry in our modern society.
Welfare, workforce and perception. The three greatest threats to our industry. Problems we have been hearing about for years, with solutions appearing to be stuck in the bureaucratic web. The impact? We wait, and while we wait, we let someone else dictate our fate.
Partly because we are a wealthy sport, there's a big bullseye on our back, so we do have to be basically showing everything we're doing to get to zero. Like the road toll, we'll probably never get there, but here's the journey that we're going on.
It's all very well to get in a room and discuss it all, but we've got to take away some actionable goals that we can achieve. And it's about changing that narrative.
I think the greatest thing about today is we had many different stakeholders from many different areas of the industry all converge on the one room today, and the greatest thing to come out of this was everyone was so comfortable in sharing their experiences, what they're doing in their relative spaces to improve our industry, and they've also committed to doing things to help better our industry.
Well, Vin Cox, of course, from Godolphin, who have been such big supporters of Kick-Up, he was saying, it's about changing the narrative. We have so many people now that are anti-racing, or they have different ideas about whether it be to do with wagering or horse welfare or, horses being injured on the track. But changing the narrative, it takes, the whole community, as we saw today, to really do that.
It takes a community effort to change that narrative, and we've found ourselves as in a public perception crisis, so the public are challenging us. The anti-racing community are really consistent in their messaging. They have a large distribution network, and it's been a one-way narrative for far too long. So the purpose of Kick-Up was to get, and today was to get everyone in the same room and work out how can we change that narrative together. What messages can we say together to shift the needle in the public space? So things like, how do we get those good news stories out there? Everyone share those good news stories with Kick-Up. We take the analogy of Kick-Up being the glue and to share those good news stories. So today was a really great experience to get many different stakeholders in the room, hear about their experiences, hear about the good news stories, hear about how they can help us get that good message out there and change the narrative.
And a lot of it too, as we talked about in the separate pillar, talking about media, and it is about the PRAs and people that know principal racing authorities. So you had them from different states of Australia, people from race clubs, people from all sorts of different areas in racing, and things such as from Racing Victoria, Sean was talking about talking to the stewards about the language involved in stewards reports, not using catastrophic or some of the language we need to share with media to try and not say a horse broke down or is being broken in, or there are different ways that we can approach it as an industry.
Exactly, and the benefit of getting all the different stakeholders together where we were hearing different experiences and stories from their lines of work. So Sean was very forthcoming with how they are, what work they are doing. So stewards reports, which are public documents access, they've worked to ensure that that language is palatable, because I believe that, and we all believe that we have our own language within racing and breeding. If you weren't born in it or you don't work in it, how can you understand some of the phrases that we use? So we discussed, how can we either update that or educate in that space, so that when we are talking to the public, it is inclusive language.
And we learned about some of the things that are coming to play for some of the anti-racing community in terms of approaching sponsors of race clubs. And if a horse is injured in a race and they sort of say, how can you sponsor racing? I mean, that's something that the industry needs to know, that's how sort of progressed it is to actually be trying to take sponsorship away from the industry.
Exactly. So with the antis, it's not just the picketing and protest rallies like we believe it is. They are doing things and being consistent in their messaging. So, for example, contacting the decision makers and the periphery impacts are huge. The periphery impacts on sponsors, on ambassadors, on the education space, in the government. It is really alarming how long this one-way narrative has gone on for, and the consistency in messaging, and that's something that Kick Up is going to work on. It's to present the racing side of it with actual facts and be consistent, just as consistent in that messaging, and encourage our communities to be consistent in that language as we work to really shift that narrative.
One of the things that we often get thrown at is that a horse dies every 2.5 days, but a lot of people don't realise that the majority of horses die in paddock accidents, but that doesn't happen to thoroughbreds because they are so well cared for that they are kept in the stable, they go out for their exercise and are brought back in. It's the same with colic. Actually kills 27% of the normal horse population, but only 7% of the thoroughbred population because they have a vet that they can call, that'll be there within an hour at max.
And we need to sort of, I guess, as you say, it's telling the stories, but it's also, getting out of the bubble that we're all in as well, to be able to get it to the right people, to communicate. There are so many great stories and so much education going on about rehoming and retiring horses.
Exactly, and that's going to be working amongst our networks, and it really today we encourage people, please share your good stories with us so that we can get it out there, or we might know an area where we can push that even further to show the public what we are doing and how we are doing it. And as you say, we are really in our racing bubble, and it was really great to hear today from a racing fan what is happening in that corporate space, because we work in racing. I personally don't have experience in that corporate space, so it was really important for us all to hear what is happening in that corporate space, and coming together today, working out what we can do. Was fantastic.
Julia, well, welcome as the Vice Chair now of Kick Up. It's been an incredible organisation that Vicky Leonard founded, and great young people you're working with, but combined now with your experience in the industry.
Yeah, I'm really happy to be involved with them. The thing I loved about it was already in existence, and why reinvent the wheel? They're actually making inroads, and they've got a presence, and they're respected. Why go and create something new where we've got the opportunity where we can combine everybody under one banner to at least get one voice? And that's the beginning of this, because at the moment we've got too many voices with not enough the same message.
You have your own farms, you've bred lots of horses, raced horses, you retire and look after thoroughbreds as well. So how have you seen it changing now? The conversation has changed in recent years, hasn't it, with so many young people, and just the whole societal sort of push against racing from some quarters is far stronger than it's ever been.
Well, when I was still at the ATC, the Young Members Advisory Group, they were very bullish about how it was really impossible to get their friends to come. They were the converted. They couldn't get their mates to come racing with them. The other side of it is from the sponsorship aspect, that the sponsorship departments in all the race clubs were now getting such pushback for some people about their participation. We need an outward-facing approach, and whether it's going to be we find people to become our ambassadors who have got that profile. Nearly every bit of medical research or philanthropy have a face-off, and I think that always helps as well, having a presence in a bigger audience. So maybe we should be looking at that as well. Everyone's got the same appetite to actually make change, which is good. And it's been a while since we've had that sort of great collaborative feel in a room. It's now how we marshal that and get something really positive out of it, which I think we will. It's the beginning of a really interesting journey.
It's quite specific that we targeted 50 people to invite to this, and that number is one that Malcolm Gladwell, as one of the more famous social change authors, has promoted as the number that's not too big, not too small, that allows change to start from. I'll get into why that's important as we go through, because coming together as a community is precisely how we're going to actually make this change happen.
And Vicky Leonard, of course, the founder of Kick Up, she has some great, statistics. And in terms of strategy and the way that you get the information out to more people and make it actually effective, the information that you're sending out. And some of the other stats in terms of, the amount of people, the kids, the amount of time they spend being taught by teachers. And if the teachers are anti-racing, then we're really on the back foot. So it is fascinating. Kick Up has a lot of information already and a lot of actual statistics.
Exactly. So The model of Kick Up is it's a bottom-up approach powered by the younger generation, and the purpose of Kick Up is to not be the opposition to the antis. However, it is to present the facts of our industry and allow, we talked about the analogy of a bell curve, where you have the left who are the antis and we can't convert them. They are not Kick Up's target market. Then in the middle of the bell curve, that middle can be swayed left or right depending on what they see, hear or experience. So the point of Kick Up is not to try and convert the bell curve on the left, for want of a better phrase. It's to present the actual facts and allow that middle bell curve to form their own opinion of our industry.
And the way forward, what are the plans, I guess, coming out of this? There's a lot to digest from today.
A lot to digest. It was really exciting to get everyone in the room. So the purpose of this workshop was to prepare ourselves for the upcoming carnival. This won't be a one-off workshop. It will be a series of workshops to ensure that we are hearing what's happening out and about, and how we can create different assets to help our communities. So from today, the way forward is that we disseminate the information, we figure out what are the deliverables and how can our industry help Kick Up, put that out there to change the narrative.